And now time for an exclusive interview with Rolf Nikel, former German ambassador to Poland, who joins me to discuss the latest on safety, security and Polish-German cooperation. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining on World News Tonight. Pleasure as always.
Good evening from Berlin.
So, a date is set for a military agreement, June 17th, a very important date for both countries. Which areas of military cooperation will be improved and that might actually really improve the security, especially of the eastern flank?
Okay. Before I answer your question, let me just stress the 35th anniversary of the German-Polish Friendship Treaty. This is really a huge success story. And we should, with all sometimes problems popping up, not forget how much we have improved since that milestone treaty has been signed. Now to your question. I think the defense agreement that will be signed will especially concern cooperation between the armed forces. It will concern armament, and it will also make sure that both of our countries that are members of NATO will play an important role, because we should not forget that all these bilateral agreements are part of this big success story, which is NATO, and in which Poland and Germany work together very, very well. So it's based on the precedent of the other agreements that Poland has signed with other countries. And in your show before, you mentioned the countries, you mentioned France, you mentioned Great Britain, and also Italy is on the way of being signed. So it's something that complements what we are doing together in NATO as member countries.
Mm-hmm. Our political writer Stuart Dowell, in his latest piece, wrote, quote, "Allies and Polish negotiators are now shaping agreements around what President Nawrocki might veto," end quote. Do you agree with this statement?
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is, in Poland, you have your internal procedures, and certainly it's not my business to characterize or to comment on the internal situation in Poland. I mean, there are ways to conclude agreements according to different procedures, and I'm very convinced that the Polish side will find the right way of dealing with that, with all the different viewpoints involved.
Mm-hmm. So why is this not a full treaty, but an agreement?
Well, as I said, there are different ways of doing agreements. Sometimes you need full treaties, sometimes you don't, and it is totally up to the country that is concluding this agreement how to make sure that it is actually implemented. That's the important thing. It's not about procedures, it's about implementing agreements. And I think I'm very convinced that the Polish government will find the right way to address this issue.
Mm-hmm. You're a former German ambassador to Poland. We had challenging discussions in the studio before. Why did the subject of the reparations for civilian victims of Nazi German oppression stalled, even though Prime Minister Tusk urged Chancellor Merz to move it forward in December last year? I mean, why is there no agreement on those from Finance Minister Lars Klingbeil?
Well, it's quite clear that the reparation issue, from the legal point of view, in our view, is silent, is not an issue anymore, for many reasons, and we can discuss this endlessly. But what is important is that we try to find a way of a humanitarian gesture to give money to those people who are still alive, and that's not a very big group. And I sincerely hope,
and it's getting smaller,
a way forward will be found on such a humanitarian gesture, independent of the legal obligations, but just to help the old and sometimes very sick people.
I would like us to revisit one of the main topics of our show today, because we know that Polish President Karol Nawrocki postponed his verdict when it comes to stripping Volodymyr Zelensky of Poland's highest state honor, the Order of the White Eagle. This move follows a highly controversial decision by Volodymyr Zelensky to name one of the military units after a Ukrainian armed formation, which was responsible for a massacre of Polish citizens during World War II. Polish President Karol Nawrocki, as I said before, postponed his decision. What's your response?
Well, as you said earlier, I was a diplomat and I'm still a diplomat. And it's not the task of a diplomat to comment on decisions that are matters of internal affairs, even though they concern other countries. This is something that the Polish authorities have to decide according to the rules in place, and I'm sure a solution will be found. From my point of view, it's important that the Polish-Ukrainian relationship remains strong, as the German-Ukrainian relationship remains strong, because anything else would only benefit the men in the Kremlin.
Okay, let's try it differently then. So I'm not trying to assign blame here, but do you think that Poland and Ukraine can afford such a spat during a period of heightened tensions, especially with what we see happen on the eastern flank and Ukraine?
I'm aware that beside the international conflict that we have here, that there are Polish-Ukrainian issues. And again, please bear with me that I don't want to be involved and want to comment on these internal issues in Poland. What we as Germans are interested, no doubt, is that the relationship between Poland and Ukraine is as good as it can be, because Ukraine needs the help of not only Poland and Germany, but the whole of Europe. And we just had an election in Hungary. A new prime minister emerged and has suddenly changed his position on Ukraine. So this is a good step forward, and we should continue on that path.
And we will have to put a full stop there because our time, unfortunately, Ambassador, is coming to an end, but it was a pleasure to have you back on the show. Rolf Nikel, former German ambassador to Poland, was my guest here on World News Tonight. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. All the best.
Thank you. And so this would be all the latest news for now. Thank you for joining us. I'm Klaudia Czerwińska, and I hope you're going to stay with us for a wider view with Marcin Zaborowski right after this show. But until then, have a good one.